Shut up and sit down.
It's about 4:30 in the morning. Been awake since 3. Not for any other reason other than I just woke up, had to go to the toilet. Actually slept okay. Only 5 hours, I think, but kind of is what it is. Like I said, I've been awake since 3 and I've just been kind of eager just to get up and get going again, but you don't want to do that in the dark, especially not with the terrain that I came through yesterday. There'll be some review videos shortly for kit. The tent is particularly small. I've been pretty warm all night actually, to be honest, and dry. It did rain at about 10 o'clock. It started just spitting, and I think I was asleep after that, and I did wake up a couple of times. Some pretty heavy rain, but didn't last long. The tent's tiny. You can't really see it. What I wanted to do really was do a video of the inside, but I mean, just to give you an idea, excuse me, I've got my torch here. I'm holding the phone in front of me, and what is that? Is that light? Is that glare? Yeah, I'm holding it in front of me, and my phone is literally right next to my face. That's about as much space as I've got. I've got enough to fit the sleeping mat, the sleeping bag. My jackets are at the end, but my feet, I can just about lay out straight head to toe in this, and there's a little bit of room on the side to keep, my phone and pocket knife and stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, it's 4:30. I'll be getting up as soon as the light comes up, packing away, and then setting off again. Sun's up. It's just before 6 a.m. Been up since 3. Another reason that I woke up at 3 o'clock. And that said, outside of a bit of rain at 10 and then some quite heavy rain, I think at 11 and 12. But I was warm. I didn't actually sleep in my sleeping bag. Used it as a blanket. Tent is tiny, but it is what it is. It just about fits me in it, and I could put my gear just inside the fly sheet. So, but yeah, not quite the sunrise I'd hoped for. Cloudy, but it's not raining. That building, you still can't see it over there in the distance, but it's lit up. It looks like a miniature Eiffel Tower. Still see the TV station over there. On that hill just behind me. That's where I'm going to be heading soon. Just up there. That's where I came from yesterday. Going to be heading back up that. And today I'm down towards. Where am I going today? Roddlesworth Waterfall and Derwent. Is it Derwent? Need some more sleep. Derwent Tower. Like I said yesterday, if I'll keep it in the edited videos, it looks like it's under construction, so that's going to be a bit disappointing because I'm not going to be able to get any decent shots of it from the outside, but hopefully get some decent views from the top. But yeah, I'm going to make myself a brew. Everything's packed up already. unfortunately stacked it last night, but if you can see, there's my kit just down there, bags all packed up ready before 6 a.m. I've not seen, well, I say I've not seen anyone. I saw one person at like 5 o'clock this morning walking past me, pitch black, just off the road. Now that's one or two things: either a really committed hiker or fell or more runner, or someone who's a bit murdery and just decided not to do some murdering today. So yeah, gonna make a brew and then set off nice and early. Having packed everything up, I turned to look at the site at which I'd camped one last time, just to make sure I'd left nothing behind. Had a quick look at the house ruins that I'd seen the night before, and then a quick scan of the area before setting off again. I could see the Joe Fell Runners Memorial behind me in the distance. I turned around to look across the hills and the views. The mist had started rolling in, so it obscured it somewhat, and then I started to make my way back up again to the Great Hill. So put the rain cover on. Rain started to come in. It's not raining now, but it's not supposed to rain until 10 o'clock, I think. But that you can see around me, which is about what I can see, is absolutely nothing. Visibility's pretty much 0% off these edges here. One of the dangers of walking or hiking on moorland, that mist rolls in and you've got zero visibility. So I'm going off memory for which way I came in yesterday, which is this way. So my only concern really is once I get off this little, I call it ridge, off this side of the hill. I didn't really want to walk all the way back through that moorland that I did yesterday, and I did see on the way up here yesterday there was a little path that seemed to cut through a field. I'm not going to be able to see it from up here, so I'm probably just going to have to walk back through that muddy path, but I've stuck the boots on, so I'm not too bothered about getting dirty shoes or wet feet or even wet trousers. It's going to clear up a bit later on today, hopefully. So when it does, I can just switch back into the trainers. So this is where I'm going, down there into the abyss. We'll see how we get on. The next video might be of me laying in a ditch crying for help. I doubt it. I actually took a run to the right path now. Visibility is clearing up as I'm getting down the hill. You see, this is where I'm going to. That's where I just came from, still really poor visibility up there. When I was walking down it, because the mist was rolling down the hills, it gave me this really trippy, I was stood still, but the land was moving. It was weird. So I thought I'd stop and try and record it, but the mist is pretty much clearing now, actually. You see, that you couldn't see the other one going. It's all just kind of rolling off the hill. So my path is just down there, but there was a little, my path's actually over there, that's where I came yesterday. The little path seems to cut right through there down towards the road. So I'm going to head down there. Sorry, camera works appalling. Okay, made it off the mountain. Condensation all over my face, or mist, or whatever. Can't even see where I came from. It was over there somewhere. All the mountains are hid behind the mist. I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I'm quite happy to be not on a road, but on firm ground, where I know my foot's not going to disappear a foot into murky water. Moorland is really hard to hike across. I wouldn't advise doing it in heavy mist. But I'm kind of glad to see the back of that. Off down now to Roddlesworth Waterfall, and then on to Darwin Tower. That was it, Darwin Tower. What did I call it earlier? Darwin Tower. So we'll see how we get on. It says I'm about 40 minutes away. Update, I just checked the maps. It says I'm 5 minutes away. It must have been 40 minutes when I was up there. Just see a little bit of the mountain. Hill, not mountain. Poking through the background. So I'm not far away, which is good. Spend a little bit of time there, and then I think it's a couple of hours to Darwin Tower. So I'm going to go down there now. Really quiet today. It's Easter Monday, so I don't expect a lot of people will be out. But yeah, I'll do some more video when I get down to the waterfall. I could have carried on along the road, but decided to climb down the steep verge and follow the river down to the waterfall through the woodland. There was a small stream that ran through the length of the forest, with several smaller waterfalls. Upon reaching the waterfall, it gave me a bit of a chance to have a breather and a break and reflect on the last 2 days. It had been a tough journey and quite a difficult hike, but all in all it was well worth it for the experience. Had to change the hat, took it off for a couple of seconds, dropped it in a big pile of mud, and I took it off because I was sweating, but when I dropped it, I went to catch it and stood in a massive puddle. Well, it wasn't even a puddle, it was like 6 inches of dirty water, mud. While I was actually looking, I was doing a little video of that little pool next to the waterfall with the stagnant, dirty water in. Anyway, just behind me, little path there. Heading up here now. I forget what it's called, but this is about an hour. Not on this path alone, but a little bit on this. And then I think maybe on some moorland again, but more so of a path, and that's me up to Darwin Tower. Hopefully it's open, not under construction, and then it'll be off into Darwin town and get a train back to Manchester, and that'll be me. Day 2 done. Got to say, it's been difficult, but I've really enjoyed myself being out here. And now, right now, there's nobody around. I've seen, since 5 o'clock this morning, I've seen one person. Obviously it was cars going past on the road, but I mean, this is the woods. You think there might be dog walkers out or something, but nothing. See what it's like when we get out the other side, heading up towards the tower. If it's any busier then. I mean, it is still quite early. I think it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So, but I'm going to stick some tunes on for a bit. Try and get my mind off of these aching shoulders and back. And have an update in a bit. Having left Roddlesworth Woods, I came to the foot of the path that would lead me to my final ascent of the 2 days. I'd have to walk through open farmland and a steep ascent to reach Darwin Tower Hill. Red. Out of breath. Oh, I've caught the sun a bit. Hills, more hills. Up these hills. Well, let's just turn around to look behind me. That hill over there. The other side of that is where I camped last night. So I've come down that hill, wound all the way round, and then ended up coming through the woods to see the waterfall. I ended up down there somewhere, and then I've come up the road down that path, trying to get used to the directions here. And now just heading up to the tower. Also, always don't forget to take your rubbish with you. Make sure you take your rubbish with you. But yeah, man, I am knackered. You know, I've only been going for I've only been going for time to get up. I feel away. I set off about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock maybe. Not been going long, but it's just been hills for the last 2 days, so back's hurting. Shoulders are hurting from carrying the weight, but my legs are just shot. And this isn't it's a relatively steep incline in places. You can see behind me, a bit windy there. But yeah, I mean it's not overly steep, but legs are knackered. So this is me. I'm pretty knackered now. This is me then. This is pretty much the end of it. It's the end of the 2 days or day and a half, if you like. By the time I get home, little stream down there. Looks pretty rotten though, to be honest with you. It's like orange, but I don't know if that's a high iron or copper content or if it's just filthy. About 20 minutes outside of Darwin now. A bit disappointed that the tower was closed, but sun's come out, birds are chirping. Oh, weird. It's like a weird little table and chair over there. So bizarre. Can you see it? I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's like made out of steel or iron or something. Just in the middle of the woods. I quite like seeing stuff like that because it's a bit unexpected. Got big bags under my eyes today. Feeling pretty tired, to be honest. Had a little 5-minute rest at the top where the tower was because I'm knackered. I'm going to post or do like a follow-up video. A nice little waterfall there. Nice little follow-up. What am I talking about? I'm going to do like a follow-up video. I think I've said it a couple of times, just with what I've enjoyed, what I haven't enjoyed, what I've learned. I think more importantly, what I've done and what I should have done, any mistakes I've made, and that'll make the second part of this video, I think. But just heading into Darwin now. Going to get myself a breakfast and then get a train back to Manchester, and I should think have a nice long soak. Hi, so it's now Tuesday the 19th. Got back yesterday and I was feeling a little bit worse for wear yesterday once I'd finished. So there's a lot. I think there was a lot for me to try and digest once I got back yesterday. Excuse me. But with it being the last day of the Easter holidays, I wanted to pop and see my kids yesterday evening as well. First day back at school. I'd not seen him for I think about a day and a half. So wanted to pop around there. But I mean, I was knackered. I went round to see them and I could almost feel myself falling asleep. The first kind of 5 minutes I was there, I was absolutely drained. So to kind of break it down, I don't want to go on too much about it, but I want to give a fair rundown of the experience that I had over the last couple of days. What I did right, what I did wrong, and hopefully, offer some advice, some tips maybe for other people that are thinking about taking it up. What I did right is going to be minimal. I'm not going to say the other section isn't going to be what I did wrong, but maybe things that I'd learned along the way. So what I did right from the outset was make sure that I had every piece of essential kit that I would need, in the event of an emergency. So I had my first aid kits and torches, and I had a pocket knife, a multi-tool, food and water, albeit I will touch on the water side of it in a bit. I had water, I think enough to. I had enough. I got myself through. I don't think I had enough if I had done the trip properly. But it was tough. It was really tough. I think if I was to say the things that I learned, things that I could improve on, I'd been, even though I kind of said in the video I'd done this on the off the cuff. It was off the destination that I started at was very last minute. Um, but I had been looking into it for a couple of weeks. So first and foremost, if you plan on going anywhere, do your research, and by research I mean that you should, look at the kit that you need to take. You should make sure you've got enough food and water, and research how much you're going to need to take with you. So there's a lot to go into research. So it's not just good enough to say, well, I'm going for 2 days, so I need to take what I would eat and drink for 2 days, because you're going to burn a massive amount of calories. And you don't just look at distances. So you can't say, well, I'm going to walk 10 miles today, so I might burn between 800 and 1,000 calories. Because if the terrain is really, really difficult, you're going to burn a considerable amount more with regards to your calories. So you've got to make sure that you're not only putting enough in to replenish what you've lost, but also to make sure that you can keep going. Which I had enough with me, but as far as kind of keeping myself fed and watered, I think I was pretty poor at doing that, and I'll touch on that in a minute. So, as far as research, make sure you're looking into how many calories you need for your size, weight, and age, and then research how many calories you're going to burn, but also have a look, if you can, an OS map in the UK, or a topographical map. I think it's topographical. So look at the terrain around you and look at the markings between each gradient. I think it's 20 meters between each line on an OS map. So if your elevation is going up 800 or 1,000 feet, then you're going to be burning a massive amount of calories in doing that. And if you're off path, I found myself on a few occasions where the path had run out and I needed to go off track. As soon as you leave a path and you're kind of walking on uneven land, not only does it take you a lot more time, but you end up burning a lot more calories, and you end up consuming a lot more water to keep yourself hydrated. Now, I did look at a lot of maps. I did look at the area quite extensively. What I didn't do was take into consideration the line markings and the elevation. And I also didn't account for the fact that paths just seemed to end in places. So, I relied on Google Maps quite a lot, and Google Maps might give you a path or a suggested route. It does kind of give you a prerequisite on there that the routes aren't always true to form. So keep that in mind. Have a look for things online where maybe other people have walked those routes before, and see if they've got any photos posted. So a big one for me was walking up the hill that took me to the Joe Fell Runners Memorial. Why do I have so much trouble saying that? The Joe Fell Runners Memorial. I think it's Chorley Joe Fell Runners Memorial. Oh my God. Chorley Joe Fell Runners Memorial. There we go. Still suffering, I think. So, I'd followed a path for a little bit, and then it just became impassable. Probably due to recent weather. There was a bit of wet weather, I think, the first week of the Easter holidays. And I decided to go off path for a little bit. I wouldn't advise people to do that, certainly on moorland, or moorland, as I was saying in the video. There was a couple of places that were quite dicey for me. There was a couple of places where I'd had I lost my footing, I'd have gone down 6-7 feet. When you're on your own, you're talking kind of threat to life situations, and I will touch on that in a minute, because you can be a really experienced hiker, and I'm not. But if you make a couple of simple mistakes during your day, then that can put you in serious trouble. Um, so yeah, I think the main thing that I did right really was to make sure that I was fully prepared with regards to kit. Um, I think what, as I say, what I didn't do right, what I've learned from is making sure that you look at maps of the area to get the best idea you can of the terrain, and make sure you do your research. Just so I was touching on there, the second thing I think that I should have done, which I didn't do, was hydrate properly throughout the day. I think I'd become so consumed and worried about having enough water with me that I'd almost started to ration it from the outset. I'd underestimated how far I needed to travel, and I think I've got my bottle here. So that's got 700 ml, and then I had a smaller bottle which is about 500 ml. So about 1.2 litres of water, which is not enough. I did have a hydration pack, but I left that at home because I was thinking, well, I'll pop at a shop and buy a 2 litre bottle. But I'd forgotten to, which was just a massive error. So there's a few reasons why water is really important. The obvious being that you stay hydrated and you don't become dehydrated. Dehydration can come with a number of side effects, and if you're not careful, put you in some real danger. Just as I was talking about the moorland, then if you're dehydrated and you're 10 miles into a hike or a walk, you can start to get blurry vision, you can start to become confused, and you can quite easily make mistakes. So even though I was aware of my surroundings, I was also aware that I might, or that I could possibly be experience mild dehydration. I probably wasn't, but I was certainly tired. I was very fatigued. I think probably because even though I'd done some research, as I say, I'd done a lot of research for the area and the routes that I was, I'd planned to take, but as far as elevation gain and things like that, and the terrain, I was assuming maybe I was going to be walking up paths and things like that, and if not kind of paved areas. I'm not naive. I didn't think there was going to be a yellow brick road there waiting for me, but equally, I think you saw some stoned paved areas, some cobbled bits and pieces, but they quite quickly ended in some places. When you get into that kind of realm, it's quite easy to make a mistake. And if you do, like I say, you've got those 6 or 7 feet drops. And these aren't, I'm not talking off the edge of a hill or a mountain or whatever. I'm not talking about walking to the edge and just wandering off. I'm talking about these are in the middle of moorland where you've got nothing but a white or yellow sheet of short or tall grass, and then just in the middle of nowhere you've got a dip, just a drop that goes nowhere. There was a few of those. There was a couple on the way up, and then I saw a couple on the way down as well. One of them, which on the way down, it wasn't the dip itself to the water wasn't that far. It was about 2 feet. But the thing is, the water, you could kind of see maybe another 2 feet into the water, but you could tell it was deep. You could tell it was very deep water. I'm quite surprised that there was no signs up, to be honest with you, to say, be careful. I suppose if you're going to be up there, and it's a given, really, you should have a bit of common sense. So yeah, I think my major thing was staying hydrated. I ate plenty. I think at the end of the day, and I had been eating during the day. So I think the second thing I would say which kind of leads on to my eating, was if you're going to go on a big hike, start your day with a big meal, a meal that's sufficient in calories enough to at least carry you through the first portion of your hike. If you're going to have, you should have regular rests, and when you have those rests, you know, make sure that you have a snack or something high in calories, and make sure that you hydrate. There's plenty of websites out there that say at X amount of miles you should have X amount of fluid and X amount of calories, so make sure you do your research on that. And then obviously make sure that you put proper breaks in for regular meals. You know, if you're going to start first thing in the morning like I did on day 2, make sure you start with a breakfast, make sure you have a stop for a snack and a stop for lunch. I didn't do that, so I was conscious that I was maybe going to be pressed for time, and I was probably more worried about the time than I was stopping for regular breaks. So I started in a place called Horwich. Originally I'd planned to go to Bolton first and then hike from Bolton to Roddlesworth Waterfall. However, that was going to take me, I think, 2.5 to 3 hours. And it would have been actually an easier 2.5 to 3 hours from the way that I came, because it was pretty flat land. A lot of it was through the northern part of the city, and then down an A road, which would have got me to the waterfall. However, I got off at Horwich instead, and I then hiked about an hour and a half to Liverpool Castle. It's a real shame because I didn't. I wanted to get a video at the just after I got off the train at Horwich, because it was a real eye opener and a bit of a shock to me. Because I got off the train and I knew that I was going to be heading up to Winter Hill TV station. But when I got off the train, I looked and I could see the hill and the TV station, and it looked absolutely massive. If you can find a photo or a video online of maybe somebody, in fact, if I can find one, I'll link to it. But it dwarfs the landscape around it. And just to put that in perspective, not far from the train station you have Bolton Wanderers football stadium, which is, I don't know how many thousand seats it is, I'll put it up here somewhere, but but the hill behind it makes it look small. So it was crazy. So so yeah, so I would say make sure you do your research, make sure you stay fed and watered, and I think a big thing for me is test all of your kit before you go. So out of everything that I took with me, the things, everything worked. So my camping stove worked, albeit I didn't cook any food with it, but I did make myself a cup of tea on the start of day 2 with plenty of sugar in it. Torch worked, tent was fine, went up fairly easily. The drone, I don't think I'll ever take it with me again. What a useless piece of equipment that is. I'll put another review for it, but my God. Now I know a lot of these drones you can't use in wind, but I swear to God, if you turn this thing and blow on it, it's going to crash into a tree. So yeah, what a waste of time that was. And I will review it in the second part of the review video for the trousers, but I was saying at the time, people maybe give a bit of a hard rap for Chinese manufactured clothing, but they broke on day 1. Trousers, the clasp, and I did say I was worried about the clasp on the trousers, and it broke. And actually, they weren't tight. I thought maybe because I was carrying a bit of timber, that it might have been that. But what I'd actually done is I'd opted to keep the trousers on that night when I went to sleep, um, because I didn't want the sleeping bag. I was too hot with the sleeping bag, but I was too cold with just the shorts, and the sleeping bag. So I didn't want to dig everything out and get the thermals out. It just seemed like a lot of hard work, when I was already set up, and I was pretty exhausted and I wanted to go to sleep. And it wasn't going to be cold enough for me to, worry about freezing temperatures and things like that. I think it only really got down to about 6 or 7 degrees, maybe a little bit lower. So yeah, I slept in trousers, just used the sleeping bag as a blanket, and woke up in the morning, and had to go to the toilet. Went to unclip them, and the clasp was gone. I don't know where it was. I never found it. So I don't know if they'd maybe broken before that, but I'm pretty sure it was there when I went to sleep. I've known maybe when I get my tent out next time, they'll be there somewhere. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to completely bash the trousers because they're a good fit. And when it was windy, they kept the cold off my legs. But I'm gonna test my sewing skills and stick a button on there instead. I think I'll do better with a button. So yeah, I'm waffling on a bit here, but test your kit, stay hydrated, stay fed, take regular breaks. Make sure that you check out the terrain properly via an OS map or something like that. Also, when you're looking at the OS map, look at what is kind of public access land, for the UK. If you're in another country, then you'll have to look at if you have rules about walking through, the country and wild areas. See if there's certain restrictions that you have. Yeah, I think that West Penines area, which I had no idea it was called West Penines area. That's another reason to research. And it's not like I didn't. I did lots of Google searches for what the area was actually called. I thought it was maybe called the Bolton Moors or Bolton National Park, and then I tried Darwin, and I tried Horwich, and I was looking at all the areas. Actually, only until I got onto the walk, that I saw the signpost for the West Penines Walk or West Penines Way, and then realised that that's where I was. So I will. In fact, I'm gonna have a quick Google of that. So why am I laughing? So this goes back to doing your research properly. So I just Googled it. You have to forgive me. I'm going to be switching between the two. So it actually turns out that on my hike, my day and a half, 2 day hike, whatever you want to call it, I had decided to start in Horwich, go to Liverpool Castle, then up to Rivington Pike, Winter Hill, TV station tower, and then the Great Hill. So that was the last one that went up. So I didn't realise this, but I actually did the Chorley Three Peaks Challenge, without knowing it. So and I think the thing is that I'd looked at this, and just in that couple of minutes of having a look there, I've realised that a couple of the parts of that walk were deemed kind of easy to medium. However, a lot of people were saying that in challenging weather, an off route, it can be very difficult. So that probably explains a lot about why I was feeling so knackered at the end of the day, because it was challenging, and probably why I felt it, for the next day, and why I'm still feeling it a bit now. My calves are aching, my quads are hurting, back and shoulders aren't that bad. A little bit sore, a little bit tender. I was half expecting to see maybe some. This probably sounds a bit dramatic, but some burst blood vessels along the tops of my shoulders, when I've carried a lot of weight previously, um, I've and not hiking, just carrying a lot of weight in a rucksack. I've sometimes got these kind of tiny little red dots. It's just from you get those kind of little burst blood vessels. So yeah, so apparently I did the Chorley Three Peaks Challenge yesterday. Well, over those 2 days. So I think generally a lot of people can do it in a day. It says it takes them 8.5 hours, but that wasn't my route. I did those 3 peaks. Well, no, sorry, I did do it in one day, didn't I? Because that Great Hill was my last one on day one, and then it was day two when I went off to see the Roddlesworth waterfall and the Darwin Tower, which was closed, but it is what it is. So yeah, long and short of it, to break the 2 days down, I did okay with regards to making sure I had the right kit, but my tips for anyone that want to do it, as I say, make sure that you stay hydrated and fed, make sure that you plan your route properly, and make sure you look at the terrain. Make sure you're up to it physically. I think if you're up to it mentally, that can get you a long way, and it can get you past maybe some of your physical barriers. I hit a few points over the last couple of days where I had to stop, and I didn't want to quit. I wasn't at that point, but there were parts of me at some point that you ask yourself that question. Why am I doing this? What am I doing here? This is mad. But that was mainly when I was on the moorland, and the terrain was difficult, and at points it could have been dangerous. That it was those kind of times when you just think I think you got to sit down, have a breather, take stock of your situation and what's going on, clear your head, and then get started again. But over anything else, research, hydrate, feed yourself, take regular breaks, and if you can, go with someone else. I don't mind my own company, so I'm quite happy to go it alone. It'd be nice to go with someone else. If anyone does see this and they want to do a bit of wild camping, then and they want to contact me, then I'm open to have that conversation. Obviously, no weirdos or murderers, please. So yeah, that's it really. That's a quick breakdown of the whole adventure over the 2 days. I was a bit disappointed on with the second day, not because of the hike, but Darwin Tower being closed. It would have been nice to get up there and have a view of the surrounding area. That said, the weather had come in a bit, and I don't know how good those views are going to be. And there's always next time. So the next challenge for me is the Peak District, which I think is going to be difficult. And this trip was a definite eye-opener for what lays ahead for me in the peaks. That said, I think the terrain is going to be a lot more forgiving. I think there's going to be a lot of Greenland. There is something I will say actually in closing, and that is when I was looking at these hiking trails, I was also looking at public access rules for the UK, and I was looking at these OS maps, and it says basically public access land is marked with a yellow wash on the map. So there were large parts of the Peak District, large parts of the West Penines, and the Penines in general that are covered in that yellow wash. And you look at it, and I was thinking, well, you've got these hiking trails kind of dotted around, and I was thinking, well, if I wanted to save time, then I'm just going to go as a crow flies. I'm just going to walk across that land. Don't stick to the trails, because it's dangerous, is the long and short of it. I think if you, unless you're a really experienced hiker, that has routes that you've kind of done before, or you're with other people, other experienced hikers. If you're like me and you're a novice, don't just look at things and think, well, I'm just going to do this because I want to do it because I want to save time, or I want to go off route. I don't want to follow the routes that everyone else is following. Those routes are there for a reason, because they've been pre-plotted by people who have judged those routes to be the safest. So you can still enjoy huge swathes of countryside, and spanning vistas across rolling hills, and small little villages and things, and you can enjoy sunrise and sunsets. You can do all that stuff from these paths, and if you're there early morning and late at night, you'll have lots of peace and quiet to enjoy on your own or with someone that's with you. Don't go off route. Don't go off route. Just stay on the paths. It's not worth it. It's not worth putting your life at risk, or the risk of, or the lives of any others. Sorry, for the sake of saving yourself half an hour. It's not worth it. So yeah, look, as always, thanks for watching. I'm really pleased that we've actually got some hiking done on this channel. So it's not just me walking around in bloody circles. It's been a massive eye opener, as I say, for what's to come for me in the future with regards to doing the Peak District, but also for the walk for my mum's thing to carry her ashes home. I had this idea in my head that I thought I'm just going to get out and do it. Now, whilst this walk is for my mum is going to be largely across a lot of flat land for some places, certainly for the southern part of the country, or it's going to be gradual, walks up hills and mountains and things. There are going to be some really difficult inclines, and don't forget the declines as well. My God, on the second day walking down into Darwin, once I'd got to the top of Darwin Tower, it was pretty much downhill from there. But when you've been, you've already kind of put, I think, 18, 19 miles in, just going down on a little decline, if maybe your boots aren't tight enough or whatever, and your kind of toes are just constantly hitting the end of your boots. It's not fun. But yeah, it was an eye opener for me, but I enjoyed it, regardless. Like I said, there were times where I thought, what am I doing? But upon reflection, would I do it again? Absolutely. Something else I would say is to touch on the mental health side of things. Try not to let your mind run away with you. That was my first ever wild camp, and Jesus, it was more a mental battle than anything else. So for anyone that knows the anatomy of a tent, you'll have your kind of your inner tent bit, your housing, and then you'll have your fly sheet that goes over the top of it. So in parts, my fly sheet was kind of touching the inner tent, and because it was windy, it wasn't that windy because I'd found a little crop at that Runners Memorial. It was somewhat sheltered from the wind, and there's some trees behind me just to break it up a bit. But when you're laying there on your own in the middle of nowhere, pitch black night, every little movement was, you kind of laid in your tent, you're thinking, what was that? What was that noise? What's that noise? And it sounds like someone's wrapping their fingers on the outside of your tent. But yeah, don't let your mind run away with you. And something else I would say in closing as well is, and this is not for me because, like I've said before, I don't care what people think about me or what people put in the comments, but sometimes I see these other videos of people that do this solo hiking and wild camping. There's 3 people that I'm subscribed to, and I really enjoy their content. There's Liam Brown, the ex-army guy who he basically sold everything, moved out of his house, and now lives a van life, and he does some really interesting stuff. Abby Barnes, she talks a lot about mental health and stuff like that. And there's a lad called Josh the Intern who I'll put links to their channels in the description, but they they do some really good fun stuff and produce some really good content. They've got a lot of followers and things, and Abby does a lot for mental health stuff. So, and Josh, I think, is he's really energetic, really passionate about what he does. It's hard not to buy into something like that. She's just a miserable old bugger, but something I do notice sometimes is when people comment the videos and I could do that, and or I've had conversations with people before and they say, well, hey, these people make money off YouTube, producing these videos where they just go camping. Go and do it then. If you think it's that easy, go and do it, because I'm telling you now, it's not easy. It's not easy. There'll be some people out there who might drive a car up to a beauty spot and they might go and hike a mile and wild camp. That is easy. That would be easy. But these guys, I think you see with people like Abby Barnes, she's regularly doing multi-day hikes that are sometimes 20 miles, 20 miles, 20 miles. Josh the Intern walked the length of England. Liam Brown did John O'Groats to Land's End, carrying 20 kilos a day on his back. I think for anyone that looks at people like that and thinks it's an easy task, it's absolutely not, by any measure of it. It's and I'm a pretty strong-willed person, despite the the anxiety and stuff. When it comes to physical fitness and things like that, if I set my mind to something, I'll go and do it, regardless of maybe how apprehensive I might be about it, how dangerous it might be, how hard it's going to be. I'll just go and get it done. But it's difficult. It's really difficult. I'm not trying to, by saying I'm not trying to put people off doing it. What I would say is maybe start small. Don't do your first one as a multi-day hike, and apparently a 3-peak challenge, albeit it's not the 3-peak challenge, it's the Chorley 3-peak challenge. But and certainly make sure that you check the weather out. Now I did look at the weather, actually, that said, and it wasn't supposed to start getting bad until about 10 or 11 o'clock on the Monday, Easter Monday. However, that changed overnight, and you could see in the video the mist started rolling in early in the morning. So yeah, like I say, for anyone that looks at these people and thinks it's an easy thing to do, and that they're going to go and make a YouTube channel and be a millionaire off it or whatever, it's not going to happen. These guys are experienced, and they put a lot of work in to produce the content that they do. So, if you do watch them, then please leave positive comments for them, because it's hard work doing what they do. Thanks for watching. The next one is the Peak District. I want to go and do the edges, and it's only about 2 weeks away. I might postpone it a little bit, maybe wait for the weather to clear up a bit, but we'll see. As always, thanks for watching. I hope it's been informative. The wind was a nightmare, so the content is not going to be fantastic, but I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Shut up and sit down.